Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have Mr. Andy Hays joining us. And I'm excited to hear this guy's story. So do me a favor and share this out, and we will see you in just a minute. And we're back. Let me bring Andy on the show. Andy, welcome to the show.
Ken, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great.
Good.
So I listen. First off, thanks for coming on and being willing to share your story and your wisdom. And second, I think that I started this about 4 years ago, and it really was to help people get unstuck in life. I think we all go through crap, and some people stay stuck for a lifetime. And I think, we can help people with that. So why don't you start with telling everybody where you were born and raised?
I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. Lived there till I was 18 and came here to Chicago for college.
Okay. Is that where you went to? I know you're an attorney.
Yes. Yeah. I went to undergrad at Loyola.
Okay.
And then after school, bounced around for a couple years and then went to law school at Chicago Kent down here in Chicago.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And when you got out of college, when you got out of law school, I'm sure you took the bar exam. I hear that's fun.
Yeah.
And
To backtrack, after college, I didn't go straight into law school, as I mentioned. So I went out to Oregon for a bit, was a ski bum in Lake Tahoe, which I actually just went back to for spring break a couple weeks ago. It had been like 20 plus years. So
wow.
it's a great place. It's very different. So did that. Then I went to a semester studying public history, master's degree program at Arizona State. That didn't really, academic was not interesting to me, the purely academic pursuits. I love education, but
Yeah.
I didn't see a career path in that. So I followed what was then, and to some degree still is, a passion of mine was brewing beer. So I moved to Denver and got a job at, basically cleaning kegs and cleaning up the floor at a brew pub there.
Wow.
Which that's back when the brew pub was kind of a strange concept. It's not like now where they're on every corner. So I did that for several years. I mean, during that time, people would say, "You mean that's a job? You can have that be your job to make beer?" Now everybody's brother-in-law is a brewer, but yeah. So I did that for a while, and then the job, I was offered a full-time position there. Health insurance, grown-up situation, to come back to Chicago. And I worked downtown. I was transferred out to Warrenville, which is near Naperville. It's a large city here outside Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was the head brewer there for a couple of years. And then I met my wife and I ended up going to law school after that.
Wow. So but your passion is being a brewer.
I mean, it was then, I suppose. Somebody asked me the other day, I've not made a batch of beer since. It's it's too messy, and plus it's like I did everything I could want to do in the creation of beer with these amazing machines,
Yeah.
Somebody else was paying for everything because it was my work. Right. So, I kind of tapped out the creativity aspect on that. So, plus there's plenty of people that can do it much better than I could do in my kitchen. these days, you know.
Yeah.
Any
Sure.
liquor store is full of tons of very good beer from all different styles. So
Right. So what drove you to decide to go to law school?
actually, I remember I was looking. Well, my wife was, when we first started dating, she was studying for the bar exam, and I just remember kind of thinking, you know, oh, looking through the things, it seemed kind of interesting, talking with her about what was going on um, with what she had learned, you know, in law school. And then what I really wanted to do, it seemed like a good education. It is a good education, has proved to be. I wasn't sure I wanted to be an attorney like a lot of people when they go to law school. Um, I knew that I wanted to own a business. So that's what doing the brewmaster thing had allowed me to kind of run that beer side, right? So
Yeah.
it was a brew pub. So there was the restaurant, and then the beer would function independently from an accounting perspective in a lot of ways. So I was in complete control of that side, you know? So I was kind of running that show, and it was very interesting to me. And I knew that I figured, and it's true, that going to law school would have been a great education for owning a business. And it turns out that's what I did, but I didn't anticipate that that business was going to be a law firm, but it's
Wow.
proved that's how it worked, and it's proved to work very well. So
I have a lot of friends who are attorneys. Judge Ken Starr was on the show. He's a friend of mine now, and he's practicing law. And
mhm.
I just have a lot of attorney friends. So when you came out of law school, I mean, did you decide at that moment I'm gonna go hang out my own shingle and have my own practice? Did you work for another law firm? How did that work out?
Well, after I graduated, I got a job at a small firm who kind of does what I do now. And it was it 3, 4 attorneys at that time. I worked there for a couple years. It wasn't a good fit. Um, and so I started looking around for other jobs. And in that process, seeing those other situations that were available, you know, through other firms, right? I
Yeah.
was kind of seeing that it's going to be kind of similar, you know? It's like that. I just remember thinking at the time of that Simpsons episode where there's Springfield and then they go over to Shelbyville, and it's like everything's the same but a little different. Like there's like a
Right.
little Bart guy and a little, you know, Homer guy, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know. He looks like you've seen that episode, but it's
Yeah.
hilarious. So it's
Yeah.
I felt like I was in kind of a Shelbyville situation, and so I
Yeah.
decided. And plus, a lot of in a small firm, unless you're lucky enough to have a mentor, which anecdotally from my friends, it's most people are not. When we started out, you know, I don't know how it is now. I don't. It's probably pretty similar to how it was, but
Yeah.
you end up learning, and this isn't just the law. This is probably anything, but you end up learning how to actually do the thing on your own. You know, I mean, you have that education, but how to sort things out, how to manage your day, how to get clients, none of that is ever taught by anyone. So um, I came to the conclusion that I was, you know, kind of learning a lot of this on my own anyway. So I figured if I'm already taking a risk, I might as well start my own shop. And, you know, we had 2 very small children at that time. So looking back on it, it seems pretty daring, but it didn't seem like that
Yeah.
at the time, you know? I guess that's
What
how it always is for people.
did you said that your your wife went to law school as well?
Yeah, she's my partner now. We're
Oh,
partners.
wow.
So she,
Wow.
at that time, she was still working, so we had some income. I mean, working for someone else.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
had some income. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so at this point, you know, as soon as she could break away from, you know,
Yeah.
the W-2 situation, she did. And so it's been a very long time that this is, we've been working
Yeah.
on this together.
So what do you specialize in?
Our focus is estate and trust administration and then
Okay.
litigation. So The litigation side, we're rather well regarded here in Chicago as a firm that is focused on the litigation side of that
Probate.
unique area of law. So
Yeah.
initially it wasn't like that. Of course, whenever you start a business, I was taking, I mean, that was 2008 when I started. So I was doing mortgage foreclosure defense, all this housing crisis stuff that was happening, helping
Yeah.
people rework their loans, all of the, estate plan, everything, right?
Wow.
But this is what has always interested me the most, this area. And then each year it would kind of grow and grow and grow. And now that's the vast majority of what we do.
Is like probate.
Probate,
stuff.
yeah, probate,
Yeah.
and then trust as well. So
Yeah.
just plain vanilla, helping people out after someone passes.
Yeah.
We can just walk them through the whole process, make sure everything is settled and they can move on. Or in the event that there's some kind of claim, maybe someone was elder abuse, exploitation, fraudulent will, fraudulent transfers, all of that type of thing. We do that as well. So
Wow, that's a pretty wide gamut from elder abuse to my friend Carrie Kasem. Her dad was Casey Kasem, and the DJ, and it's crazy you just said that, because I watched a video of Carrie talking about the entire thing. Like, she took it all the way to like every state level,
her
passing
battle,
legislation.
he was a victim.
Yeah. And she's helped get legislation passed in many states. I don't know how many now, but in 2018, she was up to like 11 different states had passed legislation. Because anyway, it's a long story, but it's interesting.
It's a huge problem in our society.
Yeah.
Elder exploitation financially. I mean, aside from everything else that the elderly are susceptible to, but financial exploitation is huge, and it's not widely publicized. Certainly not. I mean, it's not a sexy topic that is gonna, get people to click and all this kind of thing. Used to say sell newspapers, but I don't know what the current version of that is. But it's not talked about, and it can be potentially devastating for families that have to go through it. I mean, we can talk all day about that. It's yes. So that's a problem, and it's showing no signs of stopping.
I think that it's I mean, and when it comes to the probate side, again, I have a friend here locally that was a probate judge here in Columbus, Ohio, and it just blows me away that there's a this is gonna sound so naive, but it that there's a need for attorneys to stand up for, like, it's crazy. Like, what kind of fights do people get into over that?
I like to think that my worldview on this subject is jaded, because if there is a problem, they're going to call me. So I got to think there's tens of thousands of situations where that don't involve it, but it's the ones that do. Like your friend's situation, which I got to look into that. I don't know a lot about that. That sounds very fascinating, unfortunately. They will catch the media attention. And I mean, when there is a flare up in this type of realm regarding, a bad actor, whether it's a family member or a caretaker or whomever, it's devastating. I guess it looms large in people's minds, so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not the vast majority of people that have to deal with this, but the ones that do, it's catastrophic potentially. Even if it's resolved in a just way, it's still a terrible situation for the parties involved.
I have a friend that she's an attorney, very famous attorney actually, that has that does call it medical malpractice and things like that, right? She's never lost a case out of 128 tried, and and I'll tell you why I think she's never lost a case. First off, she's incredibly smart, but second, she genuinely gives a crap. I mean,
Right.
she really cares about the and it sounds like you have, you know, some of that same passion. Like you really care about the people that come and see you.
I do. I mean, every good attorney does, you know,
Yeah.
and you have to, because not only would you not be able to be successful and get victories and get a good result for your clients, but you wouldn't even be able to um, do the job because it is so stressful. Just
Yeah.
from a personal side, you wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do it unless you really cared and had some purpose to it, rather
Right.
than just trying to get clients and grow your business, make money, all those things that everybody's trying to do.
When you look at the path that you took in your career, what is there anything like from childhood that like a person or some event that made you go, you know, I'm going to be an attorney someday?
I mean, I don't. Growing up, my dad was a general practice doctor, so I know those are
Oh,
kind of the dying breed now, but
yeah,
with the specialization. But I mean, in a sense, I'm that, you know. I mean, and he always told me that being your own boss is, you know, that's the way to do it, right?
yeah,
Um, and that was ingrained in me, and I always kind of held that up. He showed me that through an example, right?
yeah,
Aside from telling it, but also an example, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's kind of what, like I said, even when I went to law school, I wasn't planning on necessarily being an attorney, right? I mean, I didn't. The education was very interesting to me, and it was a
yeah.
great education. And you could apply it to. It would have served me well no matter what I did, I think,
Right.
afterwards. But yeah, I mean, what drove me to it was once I started practicing law, I realized that I did enjoy it and I could do it, um, and I liked the business side of it. So it's just been growing every year. I have no intention to get out. I know a lot of attorneys you talk with are kind of just burned out and want to, you know, go in-house counsel, do something else, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the exit. I'm trying to create a business that I can live with, right? And that helps me now and doesn't just, I'm not just going for complete burnout and then flip the switch off when I'm 65 or whatever. And, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see that's how it's going to go for me. So, I mean, I've done some things already that, you know, kind of were outside the box, so to speak. And I plan to continue to think of ways to do that.
That's awesome, man. What when you see you look at I mean, I remember sitting in the here in Columbus. I met with the head of the law school at one of Capital, maybe Capital Law, I think. And he was one of the professors there or whatever. And he told, this is many years, 30 years ago. He said that Columbus, Ohio has more attorneys per capita than any other city in the country. Now that was back then.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what do you, I mean, so obviously there are a lot of attorneys nationwide. What do you feel like you do that separates you from your competitors? I mean, we all have them. What do you
Right.
think makes you different?
Well, as I mean, as I mentioned, just from subject matter, I mean, we do focus on the litigation side of this, a niche within a niche kind of thing of probate law. Um, a lot of attorneys stumble into these probate proceedings because their client passed away, obviously, and they're trying to help the family. And but this is all we do. So we're very skilled in this area, and then even a subset of that is the litigation contested situations. So
What's
um,
that mean? What's in lay terms? What's that mean?
Just what I referred to before as fighting about a will contest. Maybe someone
Oh,
coerced someone into a will. Just where there, I guess there's the administration side, which is, as you described, when a family is not fighting and they still need that help to just
yeah,
sort out all the assets and distribute it. The contested subset of that is where there's some kind of dispute. It could be anything, a creditor, family member, whatever. I mean, that's one way we differentiate ourselves. The other way is for those clients where it's not a contested situation and it's just a plain vanilla type of administration of a probate estate or a trust. We are always working to have regular contact with these clients, because a lot of times you just end up sorting through problems as they present themselves. There's this problem with this real estate, or I need to kick out a renter, or whatever it is. There's a tax
yeah,
problem. We're trying to have a communication with these folks, with our clients, from the beginning to the end. I mean, this process can take a year and a half in the best situation, right? 2 years.
wow,
And that's not as if we're working the file and doing a ton of work every month, of course, but we do need to maintain regular contact with these clients so that we can help them avoid problems that they may run into. So that's kind of a constant thing we're working towards. All good attorneys are working towards, always providing the best legal advice and understanding, advocacy arguments. But on top of that, you also need to, and it doesn't take away from that at all, but you also need to establish systems in your business where you give that client experience, because the law and attorneys are not really focused on customer service. I mean, you can just listen to all the jokes, of course, or all the public, misconceptions of just looking to bill some more hours. I don't want to talk
right,
to my attorney because it's going to cost me whatever. So we're trying to focus on that client experience rather than, only the delivery of the legal services, right?
yeah. Well, my buddy Doug Wing, who's on here, he said he shared it. He's the heir of the Little Giant Ladder Company. He built that with his father. And he's always like, I got to call my attorney about this or that or
Yeah.
whatever. And he's like, and as soon as he answers the phone, I get billed $450. I'm like, dude. So
That guy must have his invoicing down. I gotta call that attorney and figure out how he gets the bill out that quickly, right?
yeah,
Instantaneous. That's the next level.
yeah. But I mean, I think though, look, I am a huge advocate for owning your own business. Huge. In fact, I
Yes.
think everybody should, out of high school, before they decide to do anything, I think everybody should go knock on doors and sell something for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and then decide which career path you want. Because I've owned a business most of my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
I have had the misfortune of working for a couple of people, and I am just not a good employee.
I'm not
And
either.
I'm sure. I mean, it's like once you become
You
a
don't play well
pickle.
with others.
No, you can't ever go back to being a cucumber after you become a pickle. So it's
Yeah.
like I can't. I just can't do it. I can't punch a clock and. But
I actually think that, I mean, there is some level of, I mean, the risk of owning a business is
huge.
attractive to me, I mean,
Yeah.
even aside, of course, there's more upside, right? And that's great.
Yeah.
But the risk is appealing in some way. It's like, I don't gamble. That's what one of my friends said, who had he owns a couple bars now. He's very successful here in Chicago. I'm going to butcher it. He's hilarious, but he's like, yeah, I don't need to. He's like, I don't gamble, except with my family's entire future. 'Cause, I mean,
Right.
He's like, I don't need to gamble. I don't need to throw $100 on the White Sox when, you
Yeah,
know, the
no.
whole family's on the line every quarter, right? He
It's
said it much funnier, but it's true. I mean,
it,
I feel the same
yeah.
way.
It's what look, you can look at history, man. I mean, Elon Musk, there's somebody willing to put it all on the line,
Yeah,
and he's putting a lot more than we are on the
yeah,
line, but
yeah,
he's willing to risk it all. And
right.
because of what reason, I don't know. I have no idea why maybe we're mentally ill.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
It takes a little insanity, yeah, to do. I mean, when
Yeah.
I look back, like we're talking here about, starting your own business when you have two little kids and all this kind of. I mean, that's I'm still kind of wired that way, but yeah, it seems crazy, right? I mean, I'm sure people thought I was crazy. No one really told me I was crazy at the time, but I'm sure they thought it, right?
You know, something I find very curious about attorneys is I've seen attorneys that can go to trial, go be in front of a judge and jury and just annihilate one another in arguments
Right.
and then walk out of the courtroom and act like everything is fine. Nothing happened. I just don't get that.
Well,
How do
that's
you not take it personal?
I mean, that's deep in the profession, you know. There's That's the civility of professionalism. I mean, the thing is, again, you're describing what good attorneys do, right? I mean, there certainly are, because you've got to be able to draw that line between being an advocate and then taking it personal, as you said. And I mean, we do run across folks that clearly take it personal, and they think that they are doing a service to their client when actually, it's a complete disservice. You need to have that distance in order to be able to function as a human when you're, off the clock, so to speak, but also in order to think clearly and give your clients the advice they're paying you for, and you have a duty to give them. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know you know, how we do it or I do it. You have to do it. I mean, there's no alternative. You're just going to crush yourself, and no one's going to take you seriously. I mean, no judge is going to take you seriously. No attorney is going to take you seriously if you can't step back from it. Because I mean, the vast majority of all cases settle, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, it's very few when you look at all the cases that are filed. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I mean, it's very small. Actually, go to trial. So
Right.
in the end, you need to have that conversation with your client where you speak reasonably with them, and you're not going to be able to get to that settlement situation if you're huffing and puffing and slamming down your folders every time, you try to
Right.
talk to opposing counsel, right? I mean, sure, maybe, and it's also, I mean, that's maybe some motivation for these folks is they like to go to who act in this unprofessional fashion you see the client relationship as transactional. Of course, that's what I'm telling clients all the time. I said, listen, you need to take my advice and pursue this settlement course of action and have this conversation and see if we can do anything. I mean, it's actually not in my financial best interest to get you to settle, right? I mean, I get paid more if we go to trial. So why
Right.
wouldn't you listen to me? I mean, it's like, what more do I need to say? I'm,
Right.
leaving, thousands and thousands of dollars on the table by settling. But I mean, so I guess if you look at it on a transactional kind of relationship, of course, it would make more sense to just, oh, we're going to trial. I'll see you in court. Slam the door in everybody's face, like in the TV
Yeah.
shows. But that's not the way that it really goes down in a functioning law practice.
Sure. Sure. What do you know, I look around in the world and I see a lot of there's a lot of people that really want to create success in their life, financially, and just through the freedom of being able to say, you know what, for spring break, let's go to Lake Tahoe and hang out for a week or whatever.
Mhm.
They want that freedom, which again requires financial freedom. I
Right.
truly believe that happiness is in some part tied to reaching financial markers or goals as well, right?
Yeah,
I think.
I've been broke and not broke, and it's much better to not be broke, just because of
Amen.
what you just said. I mean, even aside from, I don't, you might have nicer shirts or something, but it's about the freedom, as you said, you know.
Are you saying my shirt's nicer than
Oh no, I was referring to myself, and this shirt isn't actually even nice. I probably had nicer shirts before.
Yeah, but I that you're so right. I've been broke, I've been wealthy, and wealthy's better. And I say that all the time. Like you gotta wrap your brain around getting. So what do you think, in your opinion, holds people back in life from achieving that stuff? And this
Um,
is your opinion.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I think that it's some story, the stories they've been told or their internal story. I mean, I remember we've done some crazy things as far as, I mean, we went down to Costa Rica for a few years recently. And whenever you tell people, I'm doing this, people, not everybody, but a lot of people kind of backtrack into some story that sounds like it was a very odd situation, but it happens so many times that I'm obviously mentioning it now. Um, People kind of start to somehow rationalize why they're not doing that thing that, oh, we always wanted to do that, but my kids are this. Then they go into some kind of explanation like, oh, I've always wanted to start my own business, but I just made partner, and I'm really getting it good now, and this and that. People just kind of have this story that they've been told what they're supposed to do. I mean, I think that might be breaking down some in the last maybe 20 years,
Yeah.
because people are realizing that you're your own business anyway. Even if you work for someone else, you're kind of your own corporation, right? I mean, people jump jobs like they never did before. So I think people are kind of coming to that realization. But I mean, it's ingrained in people to not own their own business, and
Yep.
like I said, the risk that draws you. Um, not everybody's wired that way, right? So um, it's definitely not comfortable. I mean, my business is very successful now from what I would think it would have even been possible like 5 years ago, but it's not comfortable because it could all end next year. I went through a crazy situation where a co-tenant of mine in COVID just went out of business and bailed out on me, just walked out. So then I found myself in, what do I do now? I did not feel comfortable then, even though I'd been in business for, 13 years at that time, right? And we
Wow.
sorted it out. We got subtenants. Um, we're still in the process of doing that, but it's, I mean, that's an example of, you reach a certain level, but you're still not comfortable. So, I mean, if comfort is anywhere on your radar as something that you aspire to, this is not for you. It is not for you.
I think, and Debbie says, do you believe that mindset holds people back? I think to your point you made a minute ago, it's almost like we have I'll use legal jargon here, but it's almost like we have premeditated alibis.
That's what I was trying to get on. So I couldn't said it better myself. Right. And then if you hear somebody talking about they did this thing you always wanted to do, it just kicks in like a knee jerk thing. They just start coming
Instantly.
out. And then the listeners, it's like, I don't really care why you're not moving to Costa Rica. I just told you I am, it's all good. I mean,
I
do
know.
your thing, man. I mean, yeah. And
Yep.
then it becomes this all about those alibis. And then the conversation is about testing those alibis, and then you have to say, oh yeah, I understand, and yeah. So
I have an attorney client of mine he does like title work, closing stuff, and
Real estate.
he's packing his family up and they're moving to freaking Roatan, man, Honduras. And I'm like, why? And he's like, why not?
Yeah.
And
That's
I'm
what we
like,
did. We did that in 2015 through 2018. We did that to Costa Rica.
wow. I mean, I think that again, it's if you are living, I feel like it's my job to save the world sometimes, and I know it's not, but I try, and when I say that, it's save them from their own stupid self-sabotaging mindsets of what we were just talking about, right? Like, get out of the mindset of living in that the get rid of your stories, your alibis, get rid of them. Like,
It takes a long time.
it does, man. So I remember, and probably hearing a story like what I'm getting ready to tell you stops people too. I remember when my wife and I met 12-13 years ago, we opened up our first little office, had a few employees, and this guy walks in, he goes, and this dude way bigger than me worked for me. He's like, there's a dude out in the parking lot looking in the windows of your SUV. And I'm like, I'm like, well, tell him to get the hell out of it. What, you're bigger than me, dude. What? And he's like, he's got it blocked with his tow truck. And I was like, tow truck? Oh no. I don't know if you've ever tried to convince a repo guy not to take your car in front of all your employees.
I'm not that good of a negotiator. No.
It's no fun. And I, so I've been through it, is my point, man. I've been through it. Everybody else was getting paid except for us. And what for people, especially during COVID, man, the suicide rates skyrocketed globally. What do you say to somebody that feels like they've freaking tried everything, they don't know what else to do, and they're at that, I'm just hanging on to life or my business by a string? What do you say to them to help them overcome that and get to the next moment?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a very difficult question, right? I think I'm speechless on that one. But I mean, I think that, like you said, I mean, no matter how low you are with your business, whether it's looking at some huge lease that now you have to figure out how to pay for, that you didn't in a million, it was a stretch to even get there to split the lease, right? And you just, my mind, your mind goes to scrambling, right? And then you kind of sort all these things out. And over time, it got to like not crisis mode and then livable and all that kind of thing, So I think you have to be patient and trust what you're doing, right? Because no one is more creative than a small business owner, whether it's baking donuts or having a law firm or whatever it is, tech,
Right.
you will figure out how to pay those people, or if you have to let them go, you will figure out how to do it yourself or how to outsource whatever you can outsource.
Yeah.
I think that if you are, freaking out or thinking those dark thoughts about your business, it's just a waste of energy, Well, what's the alternative? Go work for someone else. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's not an option for a lot of folks, just based on how people are built, certain people, myself included.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you feel you could share with the audience that could be, I mean, I know that you've done, I believe you've done some personal development. Have you experienced some, like, hired coaches, been in networking groups? And that, I don't know how you and Justin know each other, but I know Justin referred you to me, and I know he's huge into personal development.
I'm not into it as much as him. I don't know how he finds the time, but yes, he is part of I met him on this journey. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you're getting to a question, but I never was into, then I'll stop and let you ask your question, but I never was into any of that personal development because I was just figuring out how to, get the bills paid, right?
Yeah.
Which I suppose you could stay in that mode your whole life. I mean, that's what most people do, to your point earlier,
Yep.
But when we came back from Costa Rica, I was like, oh man, I'm moving back from Costa Rica. Because I was like, when we went down there, I was like, if I could figure out a way to make money and do it down there, I would have stayed down there, right? So it turns out the business was still growing and all this, and I realized I didn't want to quit being an attorney. So when we came back in 2018, I said, okay, I just moved from the beach to Chicago. You know, I might as well go all in on this business, right? And so
Yeah.
that's when I started engaging all of that stuff, reconnecting, just doing all those things that, I probably should have been doing from the beginning, right? But
Yeah.
and then that's kind of, so yeah, the last 4 years almost, I've been doing a lot of those things you mentioned.
How ridiculous did you feel? Like, did you feel like, man, this is the dumbest decision I've ever made, is moving from Costa Rica to Chicago? I mean, it snows in Chicago and it's cold there.
I mean, I might have felt, I think I felt that more when I went down there,
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? But it's sort of just, that was more kind of the broke versus having money kind of thing. But
sure.
no, I knew it was the right time to come back, and I knew I was excited about my business again, which is something I hadn't felt to that level
Yeah.
since I was very early on. So that was, and I still feel that now, and that was really good, and it's
So,
necessary, because if you don't feel excited about your business, you're just punching a clock for yourself, which is, that's doesn't really feel any different than punching a clock for someone else.
yep. So, how important is personal development?
I mean, I think, like I said, I gotta turn my volume up. Again, I mean, that's how I keep it interesting, right? I
Okay.
mean, if I'm not trying to do something more than just pay my rent and pay my mortgage and feed my
Yeah.
family, earn money, there's got to be something more to it, right? And I think if I'm trying to focus on those personal development type of slash business, grow that kind of realm where it's together.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone benefits. My employees benefit. My clients benefit. And I mean, unlike spiritual development, which is great too. But I mean, if you're talking about business, personal growth, you can look at it on a page. So I'm not trying to minimize any other type of growth, or saying that spiritual growth isn't part of the business growth you're talking about,
Yeah.
personal growth in that area. But yeah, you can track it, and it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Debbie's daughter is in law school right now, and she says, any advice for future lawyers? What should a current law student, she meant, do now to be prepared?
I mean, I guess I would say that's a good question. I guess I'll just put myself back in that. What would wish I would have known, um, coming out of law school? It would be about the business side. I would like to, and I want to do this sometime, um, when my kids are older and I have more free time. Teach one of these classes at my law school here in Chicago, but the business of law, because most attorneys
Mm,
end up in small law firms, right? I mean, in law school, they're focused on talking about the top 5%. Oh, they're going to go to these firms, and the clerkship and all this kind of stuff is big in the culture of law school. Everybody's talking about it, and summer clerks.
yeah.
That goes to, I mean, a school like mine, good school, not the top flight University of Chicago or something like that. Very few folks obtain that. I went to Chicago Kent here in Chicago. Get that type of thing. So you're working for local, small, medium-sized firms, and I mean, if you don't understand how that works, um, you're not gonna thrive. And I think that she should tell her daughter that she needs to know how to get clients, because if, in order to be an attorney, in your mid 40s, which is what I am. I mean, even if I didn't own my own law firm, I would need to have the ability and book of business to get clients. And I was forced to have to do that right out of the gates when I started my own firm. But even if you don't start your own firm, you need to be able to. A lot of people go to law school because they don't want to knock on doors and sell things, right? Like you said. But you need to do that. You need to do that,
I think it's so important that you should definitely teach a class on this. I'm friends with Grant Cardone, who's a huge sales trainer, right? And he says it, and I totally agree. I have Ben Gay the third on here right now, who's a legendary sales trainer, like legendary. He worked with Zig Ziglar and the Think and Grow, Napoleon Hill. Like Ben worked with them and knows them, and so sales. If I say it all the time, Andy, if you own a business, you are in sales.
Right.
If you have a job working at a company as a lawyer, you are in sales. If you are in front of a judge or a jury or whatever it is, you're just trying to negotiate a good deal for your client, you better have some sales skills.
I mean, I think the old mindset of attorneys, it may be, at least people are paying lip service, that's now shifting, but sales used to be a dirty word, right?
Yep.
For attorneys. I mean, the old mindset a generation ago was, well, this is a profession, we're not gonna, we're not salesmen. That's dirty. That's for insurance guys or whatever. But the rules of professional conduct were structured that way, in a lot of ways. And some of that's changing now, but still, I mean, we're still very antiquated in many, many, many ways as far as marketing and sales, and certainly in technology. But yeah, I mean, it's not a dirty word, and it's necessary. And I mean, if you are a young attorney and you bust your ass for 10, 15, 20 years and you're doing great, if you don't have any clients, it's not going to matter, because they're going to find someone else who can do great legal research, right? I mean, that's not an uncommon trait. No offense to those that are great legal researchers. But you can easily find someone to do that,
Right.
That's the easy part. They teach that in school. You got to be good at the stuff they don't teach in school.
Which is, if you find yourself in an of counsel position, that means you're a salesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, because you eat what you kill. And
Right.
And if you don't go learn how to communicate effectively and get clients, like you're dead. You're dead. It's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, I don't know. I don't know that there's actually like a course out there anywhere for attorneys that addresses this exact topic for a law firm or a self-employed attorney.
I'm sure there are, but but they should be required, I mean, if there is, it's like a 1 hour nighttime thing that someone can take, which is probably what I'll end up teaching at some point. But I mean, it should be more, it's out there, but I mean, it should be a part of the required curriculum.
Yeah, I agree.
Mean, they require things like international law and all these things, and those are very interesting, and it gives you a great perspective. But if they can require something like international law, where they know no one's going to, very few people are actually going to go out and do it. I mean, it's a very fascinating course, but if you have requirements like that, there's definitely room for a requirement like this.
Look, Debbie has a great idea. I don't disagree with her.
I missed it. I just saw the last part. I'm trying not to focus on this. I get too distracted.
She says the Andy Hays course. How do we sign up?
Well, I'll be like Trump. That's my new logo, just the big H everywhere. I'm gonna go into. We'll get
That's
there. We'll
it.
get there.
I
We're
love
starting
it.
here.
I love it. I love it. Andy, hey, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story and your wisdom. And yeah, man, I think what you're doing is pretty cool, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for
It's
being here.
nerve-wracking to talk about more your personal story. It's easier to talk about, the law and things, but it was a good talk for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate it, man. If you'll hang on for me, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. And for everybody that's watching or has watched and shared this out, I appreciate it. Andy appreciates it. Andy, where can people follow you? Is there a place they can, like, social media that's best?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to keep our LinkedIn going pretty good. That's another thing. I've just now got into that recently. You can check us out at our website. It's haysfirm.com, HAYSFIRM.com. And then, yeah, LinkedIn is probably the other best way.
Let me, it's HAYSFIRM.
Yeah, that's the website.
.com. I want to throw that up here so it's scrolling across the bottom. So haysfirm.com. Everybody go over there, look Andy up on LinkedIn, send him a LinkedIn request, and I will convince him that he needs to be on all the other social media platforms as well.
I'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thank you. Hang tight for me if you would, Andy. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you all later. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Ken.